What's up, landlords? Renee here, the Forever Landlord. I'm going to do the little bit of a live before I turn this off and do our Zoom inside of school. So this is just me practicing like usual. Let me see. I want to make a post about it inside here and tell people that I'm live. Give me a second. Let's put some music on.
Lunes. Money work. El mundo quiere dinero. Money work. Se arregla con dinero. Money work. Si me quiero educar, dormir en algún lugar. Un lugar para trabajar, y si no hay pues emigrar. Todo money, money, todo el dinero. Solo un par de gente se lleva el botín entero. Funny, funny, pasa verdadero. Si tienen lo verde siempre llegará primero. Pero llegaremos antes o después. Solo a lo suyo, que Dios te la ve. Que por más que tarde lo veré caer. Somos más lo bueno y tenemos fe. El dinero ya lo veré. No vendo mi alma, lo lograré. Seré el más grande, no olvidaré de dónde vengo ni cómo fue. Money work. El mundo quiere dinero. Money work. Se arregla con dinero. Con dinero. Money work. Yo digo las cosas como son. No quiero ninguna aceptación. Tampoco vengo a pedir perdón, porque mis sentimientos se volvieron la canción, yeah. No me vale mucho como tú me ves. Sabes, tú me llegas solo a los pies. Para mí ser grande es un interés. Ser un buen humano para mí es un deber. El dinero ya lo veré. No vendo mi alma.
Alrighty, so I just shared the link inside Landlord School and Landlording School to give the members a heads up. Say, hey, I'll be doing this live on YouTube before I jump on the Zoom. Because people inside of Landlord School, the free community, don't get access to me one-on-one for an hour, just back and forth, talking about anything they want, me sharing inside of my stuff, all kinds of private things that I wouldn't want to share on a live on YouTube, because I don't know if there's an email here or some account number there or something that I don't want anybody to see. So it's just easier to keep things under wrap inside a private school community. And since I got you guys on here on YouTube, I'm going to share what I'm working on. Let me switch this. So inside my Adobe Express, this is a simple sign-in sheet for when you do an open house for your showings. But obviously, as a DIY landlord and you want to be hands-off and you want real freedom, you don't want to be doing your own showings forever. So you might as well practice outsourcing this. So this is what I do. I have this made for myself, but I'm remaking it for you guys to use. I provide it to a realtor that works in the area. It's really simple. I can talk more offline about how to find these realtors and all my tips and tricks and how much I pay them and how I go about how I go about setting up the group showings and hiring them and stuff. But this is something that I have my own internal notes inside of Evernote, but I'm trying to make it in a one pager so I can share with those inside of inside my school, to where what's the essential info you got to give a realtor or whoever you're going to outsource this showing to make it really simple for you. So in this case, I want to make sure I put some kind of like, something to say, hey, thank you for giving us or helping us make a great first impression. Because inside my notes, whenever I'm talking to somebody, is that I try to tell them, hey, it's really important that we put on a good first impression. I'm looking for somebody that's willing to dress professionally and they speak professionally. They'll show up on time and they can follow my check sheet and just help us do a good image for our guests that are potentially future tenants. So by putting a one-liner here, it kind of is a subtle way to be like, hey, we appreciate your help. And that's ultimately kind of a little hint that I'm giving. You would put your management company name here. You want to always carry that plain vanilla business advantage I talk about. You want to carry yourself like a full-blown property management company, even though it's just a solo landlord. You still do this because it gives you like economy of scales. It gives you some separation from the tenants. You're never the final decision maker, and there's a lot more into that. I also have a vanity number listed here. I have a number that's similar to this, where you can spell a word with it. That's what a vanity number is. You can get these virtual numbers. Vanity numbers cost a little bit more, but depending on your company name and what you want to say, it just helps make you a little bit more legitimate. Also, you don't have to do that, but it also helps for like when people are scraping numbers off of websites and they're trying to spam people. It's good when you don't provide your number with straight numbers, that it can scrape and know it's a number, because then you get called with all these robocalls and stuff. So I do like how I just list out the letters instead of the numbers. Over here, you'd want to put the property address, and then if you have a door code or garage code. And then I thought about also putting gate code, but I'm like, that's self-explanatory. If somebody happens to have a rental that has a gate, they would add that to this. And this is the showing prep, and I'm trying to follow the same format of the first one that I have here with the same font and everything, so it looks neat. And you just attach this to an email, whoever you're hiring to do your showings. And you would want to provide a link to your listing, because obviously you want them to know more about the property. And in these steps, I actually even talk about having them review the listing so they know more about it. Because the way that I write my listings is it's very strategic the way I lay it out, and it's very different than if you're selling a house. And I think a lot of landlords and property managers get this confused. They market their rental listing, they write it up, their description, as if they're selling a house, this glamorous, glorious neighborhood and this fabulous area and all this, all this fluff talk. Tenants don't really care for that stuff, and it's better in my opinion to be direct and say very specific things you want the tenant to read. And you need to front end load your description with the most important stuff at top, because a lot of, like, I primarily just operate on Zillow, but a lot of the listing platforms, they'll make you click a button to see more, to read more of the description. So that's why I got a lot more. Maybe I'll talk about that, or you guys can jump into the school and you can learn it. But this is basically a checklist for them 24 hours prior. It's like, print out this checklist. You can use your phone or laptop, but we need this information for our records. So you're just letting them know, whoever signs in or shows up, you want to know who showed up. Prepare to dress professional. Bring an open house sign. Let me zoom in so you guys can probably read faster than I can talk. And then also prepare to appeal to the senses. Maybe I just say appeal to the senses. I haven't proofread any of this stuff yet. I'm going to clean it up once I get the formatting and everything laid out. But taste, sight, smell, hearing. You want some treats, and I'm giving ideas like some snacks, some candies. You want some decor, like a vase of some flowers, balloons, fragrance. You want some perfumes, some air fresheners, hearing. You want some music like Bluetooth speakers or cell phone. And then you want to remind them, arrive 15 minutes early, calculate your ETA for traffic and everything, and consider where you're going to park. Allow guests to park in the driveway. This stuff might seem common sense to you. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe you haven't considered this, but if you have multiple rentals in different areas, a lot of this stuff on my list, it has come because I've considered this stuff, and I do have rentals in different areas. And if you're, and I have done my own showings enough, and I know what I want. So I'm keeping control and I'm setting the expectations, and I'm telling them, setting them up for success. I also give my link here to review the FAQs, and you can direct the tenants or guests to them as necessary. Please contact the guests and introduce yourself with a friendly reminder the day before their attendance. Other things to consider is bring hand soap, toilet paper, tool bag, cleaning kit, small step ladder, this I'm going to drag over here and close it off. But right now, when I'm filling in the words, it messes up with the formatting. When they arrive, I want them to perform a walk around of the property inside out, pick out all the trash and look for damage, turn on all lights, open up blinds, let the natural light in, and set the ceiling fans to low, lower the thermostat, flush the toilets, close the lids, report any issues, leaks, pests, insects, tall grass, low batteries, damage. And I just put a bunch of this because I know I want to list some more stuff. And have all guests sign in, offer them treats, and hand out your business cards, because that's also part of my pitch when I'm hiring these realtors to outsource my showings to them. Is, hey, this can be a networking event for you. You operate in the area, and I've had tenants in the past that when they move out, they end up buying a house. So this is a great opportunity for you to connect and potentially help somebody buy a house in the neighborhood. And so it works for me, and I think this is good because I don't have to do it when I was in Iraq. This is the best thing that I came up with. But let me start my Zoom just in case anybody's getting on here.
Recording in progress.
All right, I had to launch the Zoom because if anybody jumps on, I'm going to end this live stream, and then I'll talk freely with them inside private. And inside landlording school, I do these calls, and what I record them, and I only allow them to be uploaded inside the community in the classroom for 72 hours, and then I delete them, because I don't want anybody to feel like, self-conscious or holding back, not wanting to show themselves on the camera or whatever. Say, hey, it's fine. This is just really for us. And people that are level 3 can watch the reruns for 72 hours. If not, I delete them. It's a way to kind of keep it safe space, and private. And then also not overload anybody new coming into the community, because if you go into a classroom and you're just like bombarded with just classroom material and so much videos and everything, it's almost overwhelming. And it's like, is it really that important? Because a lot of the stuff we talk about, it's in my mind, and I am facilitating it into the classroom in the Landlord Pro course that I'm building. And then that's my job to try to keep everything concise and make the class, the Landlord Pro class, the best I can. And then anybody can post anything in the discussion anytime, and I'll respond, or you can attend these calls and then I'll work with you guys that way. But I want to look at my phone real fast, because I had some Reddit posts that I was going to talk about, because I think it'll always be new material if I go to Reddit and I look at posts in discussions, and I can add my 2 cents to it and ask you guys, what do you think? And we can learn, because the problem I have with Reddit is it's like a help desk. It's like people come and just dump just like all their problems onto the community, and then sometimes it's overwhelming. They don't even ask a good question. They talk about a lot of nonsense, and then they're trying to shield their reputation. So they're preferencing their question or situation with this, but that, and also that. I'm like, just tell me what's going on, and I want to have a back and forth and really get into it and figure out what the issue is. And a lot of people are guessing, hey, I don't know this, and then they say I would do this, and there's a lot of short answers, but there's no substance. But if I get in a habit of kind of regularly going into the weeds of Reddit and pulling out some stuff, maybe we can talk, and it's more like a case study. But I had to take some screenshots of some of these that I found because it is just whack, the stuff that people post. Here's one. It was how to evict tenant because I need to live in the unit. So somebody's renting out their place and then all of a sudden their life situation changes and they just want to move back in, and they go on Reddit and they say, hey, how do I evict the tenants because I want to move in there? It's like, how self-centered, and you know, and like it's kind of like hypocritical, because as a landlord you want the tenant to uphold their end of the bargain of the agreement and the contract, right? But then landlords just want to be like, hey, how do I break it? How do I get out from under this? And who cares about the tenant? I look at the contract as an agreement that goes both ways. And that's why I collect BBB reviews for my management company, because I want to make it look like a legitimate business. That's why I operate with an LLC and I run a management business, because I want to prevent and them being ever in a situation where anything goes to court and they try to pierce the corporate veil and say that I'm, you know, hiding behind an LLC and it's not really a legitimate business. No, I go all out and I try to use that plain vanilla business advantage, you know, to make me look more professional, so I can, you know, have more distance from the tenants. And when I collect the BBB reviews, that's also adding more to that plain vanilla business advantage, and it also helps me uphold my side of the contract. And what was another one that I had here? Okay, nightmare tenants refuse entry to anyone. So I guess there's a situation in New York, they're trying to let, you know, vendors in or to do stuff, and they're just kind of saying, oh, what do I do if the tenants won't let me in? There must be way more details to that, because most tenants are reasonable and they want to have the stuff fixed. So I think there's more to that one. Okay, I don't know if you guys in the short-term rental space have this problem, but somebody says tenants, it's a new construction build and tenants have been flushing condoms, or short-term tenant people, you know, that stay in their Airbnb have been flushing condoms down the toilets, and the guest, like 2 months ago, they're suspecting, and they're like, anything I can do to, or do I have to eat the cost? And I never thought about that when you have short-term rentals, of how they're kind of more like party, you know, spots for people to, you know, throw parties. So they're going to maybe be a little bit harder on them. And then I don't know what kind of sex parties they're having, or throwing condoms down the plumbing. That's a no-go. But the issue is, even with long-term tenants, and you have the flushable wipes, the issue is, if you don't set the priorities up front and really help the tenants understand stuff like this with like FAQs, and it's in your lease, and also maybe videos and stuff, and I do resident reminder emails, seasonal emails, as friendly reminders of different things to consider. And that's one, you know, don't get confused with anything that's labeled flushable and all that stuff, because it's misguided. It's almost like false advertisement. And the burden is on the landlord for proof. Like, how are you actually going to prove that this tenant that has the problem is the one that caused the problem? You'll never know, and it would be impossible to prove. So it's almost like one of those things, like, it's like, if the tenant wants to fight it, and they're somebody that's willing to lie and kind of, you know, even though they know they did it, and they're lie their way out of it, you can't really prove it on them. You can't have cameras in the toilet. You don't have any type of, you know, sensor that's like screening all the sewage going by. So it's like almost impossible to prove that they did it. So it's one of those things, like, you have to preemptively do your best to try to prevent this. And that's why I talk about how I have a 3-part triangle, and I say property management is the least important. I say the property is the most important, then the tenant, and then the property management. If you have a good property and it looks beautiful and it's maintained really good, and it attracts a tenant that wants to stay in a very nice place, that typically would be a higher caliber person, not always, but then it's easier for the management, property management, DIY landlord to manage a responsible, normal, everyday, American tenant. So if you have, a crappy property, you don't maintain it that much, and you end up attracting kind of tenants that are kind of like a little bit shady, or cause a lot of problems with you later. Something, some alerts of something trying to pop up with this while I'm streaming. I don't know what it is. So where was I? Okay, let's look at Reddit. Let's see what we can find today. I only leave my live streams up for 15 minutes and then I take them down. And if nobody shows up, it's on them. So, what do we have today? I wonder if I can just highlight this and let it read it. See this.
We have been renting a house for 6 months. We are extremely neat and clean.
No, I don't want to hear anything about that. Tenants complaining about stuff on a landlord subreddit. What is this? Let's look at this one. Okay, just by glancing at this, they're saying some situation, and there's like somebody trying to do a daycare in the basement, and my wife works for the daycare and wants to start her own business by converting the basement apartment into 100% legal daycare, and said paperwork would be done to prevent liability. All this makes sense to me, but I wanted to see what kind of thoughts this community has in order to protect myself, as I have no experience with such an arrangement. They mentioned a couple minor modifications I have zero issue with, like upgrading the handrail and installing a fence, and the backyard property is on 2 acres. Thanks. For me, this should be an easy no. Why would you? So like one thing that I'll say is, when you have control and you are a DIY landlord and you set your policy, it is so easy to follow your policy. In my lease, it says you can't run a business and all that stuff. And the answer is no. I don't care what sob story you have. I've been tricked by tenants before by buying into their sob stories or some kind of good storytelling or situation that seems so amazing. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe this will work out. No, it's black and white. I see a lot of questions about tenants or landlords trying to qualify a tenant that's unqualified. I say it's like trying to fit a round peg into a square hole or something. It's like, okay, hey, here's the situation. I found a good tenant, a prospective tenant that seems like a great person, and they have a little bit of trouble in their background, and they have this little bit of an issue, and they kind of got some good cover story and everything. And I'm like, what's your screening criteria? You should be able to deny them without worrying about all their sob stories. Can't you just wait and get the next tenant? I don't understand why people try so hard to make an unqualified, prospective tenant qualified. It's like, well, if I lower my debt to income ratio, if I lower my credit requirement, or if I disregard, this background felony or something that happened, or that was like 5 years ago and they've been good ever since. No, it's, you set your standards and you adhere to it, because I think fair housing can hem you up with that. They have private investigators and they'll go out there and they'll pretend to be looking at rentals and they'll pretend to say stories. So you have to be careful with what you say. And of course, this matters where you're at and how many units you have and all that stuff. Because if you're a mom and pop landlord, you just have one rental, they kind of don't hold you to that same high standard. But still, you should learn those rules and just adhere to them. So there's no questions later, and you already know how to do it later if you get more units. And you never know where you're at and what state, municipality or whatever. Because in Florida, there was different cities that were putting extra regulation on landlords, but thanks to DeSantis, he just made it a whole entire state mandate now. Any like fair housing laws or extra requirements with landlords and tenant and fair housing, all that stuff has to be passed at the whole entire state level. So you can't have all these like headaches of all this extra work in random different cities and everything. So for me, I don't like to do extra stuff. So like I set a policy, I have my very rigid, onboarding process, and that's what you have to do to get in, and then you can see the property stuff. I like that I have these rules, because a lot of times you see the tenants that don't know how to follow rules and they want to call and they leave voicemails. They call in random hours really late, but it never gets to me because I can always shield myself from that. But I'm like, okay, I can tell they're trying to skirt around the system. Very clearly, it tells them what they're supposed to do, but they're not doing that. They're trying to insist on calling. They're trying to talk to the owner and they're leaving voicemails and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to talk to you because you're not following the rules. And it's really awesome for me because I treat everybody the exact same. You have to do it this way. And if you try to skirt around any corner or you do anything odd, I just don't talk to you. I see what you're doing and I don't respond back. So I think that's the biggest lesson here, without going all the details and spending too much time about it. It should be very simple. Set policies and just adhere to them. Don't change your policies. That's what something that people end up doing. They get distracted. They start, doing short-term, mid-term, long-term, and then they want to do co-living, and then they want to, rent by room and all this stuff. And unfortunately, when you do that, you are adding more stuff to do, bigger learning curve, and you can't really master one thing and systematize everything where it's so hands off and simple, like I have done with my rentals and I'd call it self-service management, what I do with my long-term rentals. And I started learning this because I was in Iraq and I really couldn't be hands-on, and I was self-managing from the other side of the world. So I was learning shortcuts to kind of do hands-off property management. And then now that I got more kids and my wife is kind of not really into it, I even learned more how much more important it is to make this very streamlined and hands-off and simple. I want everything paid off. I want it all in LLCs. I want it to have its own business account. I want everything paid on ACH, automatic billing. I want it to be seamless. I want to have a huge cushion for CapEx, because in the future, it's just going to be a matter of a few clicks and one email for any of my kids to maintain the rental business, because I'm designing it that way. And also another benefit was when I was in Iraq, if I died, I didn't want the business to be on my back. I didn't want everything to be in my head over there. So I was building it to be like, my wife could go into that one email and run everything. And we have one Zoho Vault where all our passwords for the whole family, and it has all our tribe info and everything. So she would be able to survive, I think that's my 15-minute mark, and I think I'm going to end the live stream and cut off this Zoom real quick. All right, I just stopped the Zoom. But what I'm going to do is be on the lookout. Every Sunday, I'm going to try to jump on here early before I do my landlording lives. If nobody shows up, I'll hang out for a while, and maybe I can get this alerts working for chats, and maybe you guys can ask me something. If not, maybe I can do regular back and forth with you guys. You can get into landlord school for free, and then you can jump on these calls and we could talk before. I don't know. I'll figure this out as I go. All right, that's it. See you guys. Bye.